Is vulnerability a weakness? Is vulnerability a weakness? So, whether you're a business owner, female entrepreneur, and when you feel that you have this new idea, I'd say we all experience some form of vulnerability. I'm
Hmm.
Alison from the Second Mountain team.
Hi, and I'm Wolfgang, the founder of the Second Mountain.
Yes, so today we're going to explore this topic, vulnerability. And Brene Brown, a vulnerability researcher, actually did a TEDx talk on vulnerability. And she said vulnerability is not a weakness, it's a measurement of courage. So, being inspired
Hmm.
by this topic of vulnerability, so we decided to do a poll. So, we decided to do our own poll on LinkedIn. And I just wanted to share the result of that. So, our audience, so 57% voted that vulnerability is not a weakness. And they said it's a strength. 36% said it depends on the situation. And 7% voted, I don't know. So, hey,
Hmm.
Wolf, I wanted to hear your opinion. So, from you working with female entrepreneurs, female founders, do you think is is vulnerability a weakness?
I would say it's interesting. What is vulnerability at all, right? Like like do we make ourselves? Do we feel vulnerable? Are we vulnerable? So is this what kind of state is it? What do you think? What is it to
Hmm.
you?
To me, I feel
Yes.
like it's a state. It's like a feeling of, I wouldn't say it's not weakness, but it's like opening up to become um vulnerable. I'm trying not to use the word vulnerable, but like trying to, yeah, so when you're opening up and you're, yeah, there's definitely an element of courage, but also fear of, whether it's being judged, whether it's shame, or whether there's an element of risk there.
Yeah. It's
I,
always a question: are we good enough? Um, and or do I deserve it? So there is like a vulnerability. It comes close when you ask Brene Brown. It comes close to shame. So
Mhm.
there's something we're ashamed of. So we're making ourselves vulnerable by speaking about that. So it could be a shame of, because interesting when we have an idea. Let's say there's a new business idea I have, and or I think like, oh, I want to start a purpose-driven business. There could be the shame of, oh, other people can think it will make no money, or I'm not, or I'm one of these world savers, and how will others judge me? Or
Mm,
but if it's like, oh, I want to start a business, this will make top money. Is again, oh, you're so the voice of there's an inner voice of shame, maybe. Oh, this person is so greedy. It's so superficial, just all about money. Where's the purpose? So depending also on the people that surround you, the question of what kind of shame is arising.
mm. Let's dive into that a little bit deeper.
Okay.
So
I know you
there
would not. I can't get out of that so easily.
okay, so there's the feelings of shame, which, so you mentioned it could come from the people around you, like depending on who you surround yourself with, but where does it actually come from? Like, where does this feeling of shame, where could it come from?
I mean, it's how we raise the society, like the people. Like, I mean, this is our childhood. Everything that is taught we've been taught how we are okay, right? So
Mm,
everything that is was not okay, we adapt really quickly. Say, oh, this is how our parents like us, the teachers like us, how the world wants us to be. So this is simple. We learn these patterns, and so we know that there is something that is not maybe aligned with this community. So that's why, otherwise, where there would be no shame. If we
mm,
just would share an idea, the idea would be totally in line with the persons around us. There's no, what's the point? There's no shame.
right.
So, hanging out with my friends and sharing, they all like dancing, talking about dancing. there is no point. But if they are all into horse riding, or they are kickboxers, and I start talking about dancing, it's kind of like, who are you? Like a man dancing? What is it, right? So it can cause some friction. So, and then the question, am I bold enough? Am I vulnerable enough to share this? Do I stand up for my own thoughts? Or to stand up for my own ideas? And and especially in the beginning of a new idea or a new thought or a change of life, everything is kind of fresh. It's not fully explored. There is a desire, something we want to taste. There is a taste of life, or a project we see there is a need that we proceeded. But there's a conflict with our surroundings, that they say like, this is not you. You know, you always start projects and then like bam, and it's like they keep you down, right?
Yeah, I love that example you give, actually. So just with friends, for example. So for example, if your friends are into kickboxing, but you are into dancing, and then you decide, to share, like, I like dancing. It's different to what the community, like what the people around you are doing. So there's that element of friction, and that can apply in business, coming up with new ideas. That's different to what your existing surrounding is. So it's good to see that application from day-to-day life to how it applies to business as well.
Yeah, and that's why it's a classic, but it's like, when you have, how do you change your how do you make it easy on you? If you have a new idea or a new desire, or a desire you want to outlive, change the people around you, because it's always said there's the 5 people around you hang out most that create your reality. So if you switch the team, if I would hang around with dancers, there is no point in vulnerability. It's kind of like, I may be vulnerable. Oh, I'm not good enough yet, or but I'm in a learning mode. If I did this myself. I was a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization, or I'm still a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization. But when I built my company, and I had 40 employees, we got a couple of millions turnover and all of this. So I felt really in line, in tune with other entrepreneurs who also had a couple of million of turnover. But then I sold my business. And then I was between these people who were still running like $1 million businesses. But I was in the seeking mode. I was searching for new meaning. I was searching for a new beginning, or I was in a stage of new beginning. So I wanted to hang out around with people who were also searching. So I kept being a member of the Entrepreneurs Organization, but there was part of me who felt like not connecting, because they didn't have this question. So I found another community in the UK, the Happy Startup School. They were more like second stage beginners, and I felt good with that. But I had still one foot in the Entrepreneurs Organization. And now we're with the second. Now we're rebuilding a new organization. And I made a call and said, like, you know what? I have to be honest. You guys have your $1 million companies. I had it too, but right now I'm rebuilding. So I'm a different stage of life. And so I went to the accelerator program of EO. So I stepped down. I was vulnerable enough. And I was president of EO Hamburg. So, and it was kind of weird, but I said, like, you know what? It doesn't matter. I go down to the kids. It's not kids. It's just like young adults, like they are building their business. So the old guy goes down to them and rebuilds his business with his new community. And I love it. We talk about active campaign and how to make sales and all that. And I feel totally aligned. I found my community. I'm still a member of EO, but you know what? I'm an inspiring rebel coming back.
I love that. It's such a good example as well. Like, going through different phases of your business and making use of your community around you, stepping into different communities depending on where you are at on your journey.
Yeah, and communities is also status. I mean, this is because I owned the status of being in that organization with the $1 million entrepreneurs. So going down with people who have less than $1 million turnover, it was a risk of status.
Yeah.
And I think this is where vulnerability shows. And also this is where fear and courage, because it needs some courage to overcome this fear. So like, am I still okay if I hang around with the accelerators? Which, even if it's more true, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I love that you mentioned courage. So the last thing I wanted to ask you is, so what would you say to female entrepreneurs who they haven't yet stepped into that courage to be vulnerable? What's one thing that they can do to be able to become more courage, to get more courage, yeah.
It's interesting. The question is it worth it? So is it something that really excites you? And when it really excites you, it's okay to have fear, because life goals, they always have these two sides. They should excite you a lot and scare you a little. And so if there is only scarcity, it's not worth it. But on the other hand, you need both the excitement and the fear. And the question is always, which wolf do you feed? The courage, like the excitement, the courage, or your fear?
Yeah, and only you yourself will know that, the honest answer to that.
Yeah, and you can shift your attention to each side and make the fear lower or smaller. And I mean, it's really simple. Imagine your fear, give it a picture, and imagine that one, right? I can visualize my fear, and I can even see it moving to a distance. And then when it's in distance, I can even make it smaller and smaller and smaller. And when I see this little fear, right? It's not that dangerous anymore. Then I can put it in my pocket and come back as the person I am.
Thank you for sharing that, Wolf. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. If you're watching live and you found this helpful, drop us a like. And if you're watching on replay, put #replay. So at the Second Mountain, we're doing a research project for female founders who are willing to explore and play with their ideas. So it could be an existing idea within your business, or it could be a complete new idea, something that's not even related to your current business. And in this research project, so I'm inviting you to just share your story. I'd love to hear your story and your challenges, what you're trying to achieve. And the intention is just so we at the Second Mountain can uplift our community, so we can create everything we create will uplift female entrepreneurs. So I will share the link, and I'd love to hear from you. And thank you very much. And thank you, Wolf.
Thank you, Alison.
Bye.
Bye-bye.